Don't finance car parts, that's stupid. What most people will say when you even think about talking about this subject, but we're Martini Works. And objectively speaking, 33% of anyone who buys a car part over $500 right now is going to finance it. So instead of pretending like everyone has a fully invested 401k and money collecting dust in the bank, we're gonna help talk about this so we can make an educated decision on if you actually want to do this. Plus, if you do a specific thing, it can be pretty terrible to your credit, but we're gonna get into that. I'm Alex Martini, this is Martini Works, where we help people mod your car with your friends. And let's talk about if you should actually finance a car build. Honestly, financing car parts has gotten extremely easy. Every acronym, verb, adjective seems to be some part of a financing program, okay? We get it. We see it every dang day, okay? Why do these things continue to pop up? Well, to be honest, it's because an 18-year-old is an easy person to convince to get a loan out on versus like a 35-year-old. It's just because. But at its core, and I may catch a little bit of shit by saying this, financing is a normal part of building a car. You might have financed the car itself, the engine repair, the glass, or the paint. And I'm not here to make you feel bad or to make you feel good. I'm here to help make sure that you don't make the wrong decision when you use financing. So before we even get into that, let's get some myths out of the way. Number one, all financing companies are the same. They're not. And they're not even like remotely close. See, they can typically fall into what I would call three categories. You have one for the folks with good credit history. Number two, the folks with bad credit history. And number three, the folks with no credit history. Lending companies like Affirm or Catapult, for instance, sit in a very specific space for very specific customers. And while they brag that they can help everyone under the sun, they can't. They're built for very specific markets. And we'll get into which one you should use in just a little bit. Number two, financing isn't a serious thing. I hate to tell you this, it is, and it's really boring. Now, I have 7 years of financial literacy before I rambled on the internet about car parts. I watched young men, women, families, and aspiring entrepreneurs take out loans even against my greater judgment because they felt it was going to work. Transparently, guys and gals, me saying this doesn't help Martini Works at all, actually. But we will never push something that hurts you and benefits us. If you're debating financing because you don't need to worry about loans or don't care what happens, I would highly stay away from anything loan related. You're not mature enough yet to use this tool, and this tool will abuse that ignorance until you're broke. Remember, financials win based on consumer ignorance, so just don't be ignorant. And number three, anyone who finances a car part is an idiot. This is tough because people finance milk, gas, electricity bills, and shoes every time they use a credit card. So don't let bullies make you think it's unethical to do this. It's important just to do it smartly. And there are specific programs we'll talk about in this to make this a smart way to build your car without necessarily going into a hole of debt. And finally, this helps or hurts your credit score. That's a common one I hear all the time. There's a huge difference between getting a secured loan against your car at a credit union versus buying something with Affirm. For starters, your credit union will report your payment history through the life of the loan to all of the credit bureaus, ultimately helping or hurting your credit. Something like Affirm only reports to Experian, which is one of the three lenders. In addition, they won't report on short-term loans or loans that are 0% or short-term at all, as there's no real requirement to. Most loans in this space are called BNPL, or Buy Now, Pay Later programs, and all of which will pull a soft credit check on you to see if you can be approved, but that won't actually impact your credit like getting something at a bank. If you want to build your credit score, get a small overdraft protection account, a small credit card, a small car loan, maybe even if you have it paid off, and go pay your bills on time. It's the easiest and best way to do it. Now, those are the big myths, but I want to actually truly talk about when, where, and how you should use these programs if you're on the fence about using them, especially with us on Martini. So what financing should you use? If you remember earlier, I mentioned that financial companies can be divided into the folks with good credit history, folks with maybe bad credit history, and folks with no credit history. At Martini Works, that means we offer 3 lenders and no one else at this time. We only have Affirm, Catapult, and PayPal. Affirm is an actual financial lender. When you take out a loan with Affirm, you're simply avoiding the process of going into your local credit union or financial to get what's called an unsecured loan. Unsecured loans do not have an asset tied to them, which means if you fail to pay, they'll pretty much only hit your credit, but it's really unlikely that they'll ever actually get the item back. Unsecured loans are typical. and will report on your credit score as unsecured loans, which can help build your credit if that's something that you need. But again, it's only going to show up on Experian. Catapult is for folks typically with either troubled credit or they just don't have credit at all. And that's because Catapult doesn't actually loan you anything. Catapult is a lease-to-own program where you lease the item, make regular payments, and then you can choose to purchase the item at any point in the leasing term. The lease itself is not actually a credit transaction. So Affirm is a loan, Catapult is a lease. Affirm is a digital lender, and Catapult is a digital leaser. PayPal is the idiot company that bought Honey, but they also have their own program called PayPal Pay in 4. The Pay in 4 program is another buy now, pay later installment loan style that just doesn't have interest, but it does have a repayment period that's pretty short, paying it back in 4 payments. So which one should you choose, and should you do it at all? Here are my unfiltered thoughts on this. You shouldn't feel bad about using a BNPL company like Catapult or Affirm as long as, number one, you have history paying something back on paper that shows you that you can do it. Number two, you understand that the 0% financing offers are where you want to stay, with anything outside of that being money that you will never give back. It's how financials make money. The moment that you have an APR, you're paying way more than you probably should. Now, you should maybe feel a little bit bad about using Catapult or Affirm if, number one, you're maxing out your offer and you've never used something like this before, or number two, you're using this because another line of credit you have is maxed out and you can't catch up on it like a credit card. Then there's the conversation on which one to use. Affirm is honestly gonna be the most popular that we see, and it has a really strong 0% offer. It costs us, MartiniWorks, money to offer it, but you can get then 3, 6, or 12-month terms. With those terms, you can get up to 0% financing for that term if paid within that time period, which means you don't pay any interest. If you're outside of that promotion, you'll typically pay anywhere between 10 and 36% APR, which is above the standard unsecured loan rate that you'd find at something like a credit union. And you'll hear me say credit unions forever. That's because I believe they're better than banks, and I'll die on that hill. Affirm is also awkwardly bad with approving people right now. It's weird. They were and considered what's called a subprime lender. So if you were like a C credit score, you could still get approved. But they've actually gotten quite snobby over the past couple years with, even if you have good credit, it's not uncommon for Affirm to deny folks. And Affirm's kind of become their own bank, which is why Catapult has gotten so popular. Catapult captures the folks who might not have the credit to get a $2,500 loan approved, but the only difference is Catapult's terms can be a bit more aggressive if you don't stay on top of it. Remember, this is help educate, not scare. But we want you to build your car right and use the tools on the site the right way. We never want to offer something we wouldn't be able to look you in the eye and say in person, which is why I'm making this video. Now, Catapult, as a lease-to-own program, also offers a 90-day, what they call same as cash offer, meaning if you pay it off in those 3 months, you don't pay any interest. Now, there's typical an approval fee, which is like $45, and since there's no actual APR because it's a lease, not a loan, you're paying just extra on every payment until you decide to buy it out completely. Short term, Catapult or Affirm are going to be fine if you can utilize that 90-day same as cash offer or 0% financing offer. If you're going for a longer term, Affirm should always be your first try, with Catapult being your second. Now, PayPal Pay in 4 is third for us because it's a pretty inconsistent approval rating and they have limits to how much they'll borrow, which is $1,500. That sounds like a lot, but it's really not if you're doing a wheel and tire package. Catapult is more open to giving you more. Affirm is less likely. Catapult is going to charge you more for the full length that you would lease something, and Affirm is more difficult to get approved for. Catapult has promotions all the time for their program, and Affirm never does. Catapult charges us 0% to use their service, and Affirm charges us 8% of your total order, which kills our margin, but we offer it because we believe that people should have access to it. The ethical conversation about leasing or loaning anything is really tricky. As a financial nerd first and car enthusiast second, for the first part of my life, this is a pretty tough one to talk about, but I wouldn't feel right without telling you this. Any loan or lease company can prey on your ignorance or your stupidity, so don't be either. Number two, don't take out more money than you feel comfortable telling your closest friend or family. And number 3, read all the information as you apply. The number of times I've seen people just sign their life away without knowing it is insane. There are horror stories about subprime lending ruining people's financial freedom, and rightfully so. But like McDonald's not causing fat people, but people causing fat people, I think it's important for people like you and people like me to be accountable for making the decisions that we do. These are choices, and in a perfect world, everyone would be loaded and fast food wouldn't cost $22 a person, but here we are, and that's just how the world works right now. So be smart, mod responsibly, but above all else, mod your car at martiniworks.com. And if you have questions on stuff like this, let us know below. This is something that you guys asked us to talk about, and we'll be taking a look at the comments to see what we should talk about next. We'll always tell you the truth, even if that means we lose a sale, because doing this right for us is more important than doing it fast. I'm Alex Martini, hope you enjoyed this video, and we'll talk soon.